Technology stuff is crazy. We're gonna try this again. Let me get my ears in. Uh, got a few things. All right, hold on. I'm getting there. Get my ears in. All right. All right. Good morning, people. Fighting my technology challenges as usual. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Get my coffee. Let a few folks come in. How are y'all feeling this morning? All right, good. Feet are down now. Yeah, sometimes I'll walk on the side of the wall. You wouldn't believe that I went to school for computer science and I've been a programmer my whole life, been in IT and all kind of crazy stuff, but I can't operate the phone. But the NSA changed these things so much, and the CIA is so hard to figure out how to get right in these things. Good morning, Sister Sonia. How you doing this morning, girl? So, a few things I want to talk about this morning. A little tired, not as bubbly as I used to be. Good morning, Brother Sean. How you doing, Brother Sean? Sister Michelle, good morning. Oh, wow, you spell your name the same way my ex-wife spells it. One L. Hey. All right. All right. So let's get into it. Everyone's talking about healthcare, so I'm gonna kind of start there. And I don't really post too much on the politics sides of things because, as y'all know me, those of you who know me, I really don't care about politics. I hate politics. I just want to grow my plants, man. I don't have time for it. But we're in a time in this world and in this country where if you are a parent, if you're an adult, you have to start paying attention. You have to start getting involved because the craziness is only increasing. And when ignorance dominates the conversation, and that's a tough word. I don't like the word ignorance. It's got that negative connotation. You know, when people who don't know, when uninformed people dominate the conversation, when people with agendas dominate the conversation, we end up where we've been going for the past 40 years. And so I posted something the other day, which is on healthcare, and you know, and I don't post about everyone's talking about single payer, and to be honest with you, I don't even know what that is. I don't even care what that is, right? You know, people fighting over Romney care and Obamacare and Trump care, and honestly, I mean, I've looked at some of those. I know what some of those are, but I'm not sure that I really even care so much. Not from my perspective, right? From my perspective, I'm a part of this tribe, and it's called a human tribe. And we happen to be located in this place called America. No, I didn't say America. I said America. We happen to be in America. And most people stood up. I guess that was about 10 years ago or so when Michael Moore did that movie Sicko. Most people stood up and said, we want universal health care. And I'm not the brightest light in the shop, but I remember enough about civics class to remember that when America speaks, the government is supposed to listen. That the people run the government doesn't run the government. And damn sure Wall Street and international business don't run the government. That's called treason. That's called traitorous. That's when politicians need to be tarred and feathered, hit with rotten tomatoes at best. In reality, it's a whole lot worse. But you can't say that on social media because then, you know, they think you're crazy because, anyway, I won't go there. So the majority stood up and said they want universal health care. It took years, and believe it or not, it's crazy. If you look at the history of it, the first proponent of it was Hillary Clinton. Ah! It's like, how the heck? You know, I'm like, this, you know, so I'm not going to, you got to tone the identity politics down a little bit because, you know, you're not supposed to judge a person, you know, for the whole thing, right? You're supposed to look at each individual decision. You got to stay away from the identities and just focus on the topics. She was spot on that topic back then. Why was she spot on? Because the American people asked for it. That's why she was spot on. And she was still crazy back then, but that's another whole topic. Crazy, crazy people will say some of the brightest things you could ever realize. Go talk to some homeless people and you'll find out. So, good morning, Brother Tom. And, hey, that's my pop's name. All right. Well, it was my pop's name, but it still is my pop's name, but that's a long story. So she was spot on with universal health care, and the people stood up for it. And somehow it went from that to, how do we make money? Healthcare companies jumped into it, and pharmaceutical companies, and they try to figure out, well, how do we make this profitable? Which is what happens to every law. They make it a for-profit thing, and what gets rolled out is not what Americans asked for. Where I'm coming from, personally, I don't like doctors. I don't trust doctors. I don't go anywhere near the doctor. I have no idea who my doctor is. I haven't been there in so long. Honestly, I kind of remember what the street looks like, but I don't know that I could get there if I had to. Mainly because doctors are phenomenal at saving people's lives, but they're also phenomenal at working with the pharmaceutical companies to take people's lives. So I don't do doctors. Sorry. I get hit by a car, doctor's my best friend. Get up in the morning, smoothie is my best friend, except for this morning, it's coffee. I don't trust them. I don't trust them because they're us. They're us. They're paying a mortgage. They have a job to do. And I don't trust them because in my life, it's been proven fact that if you eat more natural things, you eat the rawest food you can, you cut down on as much meat and dairy as you can, your body magically works how it's supposed to. And at that point in time, you stop taking the Tylenol and the Advil, you stop screwing with your epigenetics, flipping DNA all over your body, and all the crazy illnesses go away. So, hey, Michelle, no, I haven't. No, I don't eat meat. I haven't tried it roasted chicory. That kind of sounds like chicken. Yeah, I know. Check this out. You see this thing right here, y'all. Look, it looks like this is dark-skinned human thing because my people migrated to a place that had a lot of sun, so my face got dark. And but I don't eat chicken. Sorry, I don't eat chicken. I see. Okay, that brings up a funny story. And I know I go off in tangents, but it is, my neighbors, man, they got too much jokes. They got camera phones and all this crazy stuff now. So my youngest son, he asked for watermelon, right? And so I bought the watermelon. I was in the truck, and we were in the house. He said, "Dad, where's the watermelon?" I said, "Man, it's out of the truck. You wanna go get it?" I said, "No, I'm not gonna go get it. I am not," because I forgot what I was doing, but I was hot and I was sweaty and all this stuff. And I said, "Wait a minute, I'm gonna walk out to the truck and I'm gonna grab this watermelon, looking all sweaty like I just came up out some cotton field or something, and in the house, and my neighbor just be checking the mail at that moment and snapping." No, that's not happening. So I sent my son out to the truck to get the watermelon. And that turned into a hilarious stereotypical story, which I just won't even touch yet because America ain't ready for that. And I got pictures to prove it, but that's it. So off in that tangent. Yeah, I tried replacement for coffee. I wasn't exactly excited about it. It was the one I had was pretty oily, and everything that I do, I try to look at nature for the example, right? So in terms of human health, we never had, enough oil to fill a cup of coffee. So we didn't evolve to drink 16 ounces of oil. So that could cause a problem. Doesn't mean it will cause a problem, but it could cause a problem. So the brand, whatever it was I was drinking, I didn't like that. So I went back to the coffee bean. Good morning, Sister Georgia. So in my life, in how I've changed my diet, how I exercise, getting active in the garden, getting my butt off of the butt spread corporate America seats, health came back and I stopped getting sick. And so I'm not a healthcare proponent. I'm not, well, not for me. However, we have a lot of sick people in this country because I woke up and I stopped trusting the doctors, and because they work for chemical companies, because they're not doctors, they're chemists now, if you're not paying attention, and they have a mortgage to pay, and every evil in the world's being done to pay a mortgage. So I don't trust them or the industry, and most of the doctors I know, they're strung out on drugs too. So I'm not pushing that we should have universal health care for me. I'm not going to touch it. I think it's crazy. And then to put it in the hands of a government, a government that I don't already trust, that just proven decade after decade after decade after decade after decade that they can't be trusted with a potato gun, let alone my health. I don't want any parts of it. However, once again, because I woke up a little early and I realized that the hippies weren't lying, that the hippies were spot on, and now all the science is proving that the hippies were spot on. I don't want any parts of chemical care, because that's really what that is. It's not health care, it's chemical care. But my brothers and sisters stood up and said they want universal health care. Therefore, we need to have it because our government works for us. And it's like what I've always said. I honestly don't care if Republicans or Democrats run this country. I don't have any animosity for either side. I have animosity for the DNC and the GOP because they're corrupt. They belong in prison. We need some war tribunals, but that's another story. Good morning, Patricia. How you doing? But as long as an American is running the country, I'm good. You know, I want the brothers to have my back, right? The brothers and sisters in the Republican Party, or the brothers and sisters in the Democratic Party, or the brothers and sisters in the Green Party, and whatever the leadership calls themselves, they better listen to those people because those are my neighbors and those are my people. So I'm good with that because it's American and we know whatever happens will be in our best interest. However, that's not what's happening. And I was paying attention to a thread the other day, and it's getting deep now. Like ooh boy, I was watching two Trump voters go at it. I was kind of like, oh, it's that kind of party now. Like the moderates really starting to come out and they're really starting to be honest about it. Which is different and it's new. And man, I love people like that. I can't tell you, sometimes we get trapped up in these identities, right? And this is what I was saying in the beginning is you can't fall for the identity, right? Like that's how abuse happens. That's how, if you look at a marriage, I married this guy. Oh, I loved him and he brought me roses and loved boo, 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 boo. We went on vacations. That's my baby, boo, boo. And, all y'all come up with these names, sugar pie, pumpkin, all this. I'm a little old fashioned. So yeah, some old names in there. And whatever happens, something flips in his brain. Difficulty at work, stuff from childhood comes back, whatever. And he starts yelling at the woman, right? Someone he never yelled at before, he's yelling at now. And that turns into a little drinking. And he holds her down, and I'm giving like a nice view of it. A lot of us know that it doesn't go that way. Like it starts right from jump, but I'm kind of giving an example. But it can progress into that, right? Like anything that gets normalized can progress down that route, especially with abuse. And these abusive women actually can't see that they're being abused. Good morning, Neela. How you doing, Sister Neela? And they can't see that they're in an abusive relationship because the identity's there, right? Like this is Bob. Bob has loved me forever. Bob is he's the father of my kids and blah, 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 blah. And they try to convince themselves. I used to work with children's rights and got involved with a little domestic violence. And I used to talk to one of the ladies, I think her name was Anita, who owned a shelter down in West Virginia. But it's a psychological thing. And this is what's happening with identity politics and these political parties is that you won't turn on who you voted for. And that's like the mind of the abused because they've been abused and they attach to that identity and they refuse to say, no, I love you and we had kids together and we blah, 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 blah. And you used to buy me roses, but you aren't supposed to touch me, right? And even before touching me, when did you ever cuss me? Like, when did this start? And so I really appreciate those who voted for Trump are starting to criticize him. And this is how I know we're getting somewhere. Now, your list of friends may not be getting nowhere, and I'm sorry to hear that. I know that there's a lot of drama and stuff out there, but I'm seeing my friends are starting to critique who they voted for. And like I said, I gave him a chance. And to be honest with you, I didn't stop giving him a chance, because he is our president. Like, I used to have the Jill Stein thing, because I voted Green Party. But it said, I think it said Madam President or something like it had. I think it was a Newsweek. It was a Newsweek who published the thing and had Hillary on there, and it said Madam President, and they printed it ahead of time, and then someone pasted Jill Stein's face and it said Madam President. I had it on the front of my thing, on the front of my page, but I took it down not because of any drama or anything that was going on, but because he is our president, right? And we have to get through this, right? We have to make it work. And so what I appreciate is people who are meeting in the middle, right? I appreciate people who are being true and being honest and saying, you know what, that's my president, and maybe 60% of what he's doing I appreciate. This other percentage, that's not for me. That 40%, that's evil. That's for Wall Street. That's for Israel. Or that's for, whoever else. Because when we have an honest discussion, we can get somewhere. So, but, you can't kill children and get my support. So that's why I don't support him. He is my president. But I didn't support Obama either, because he was killing children too. So, nor Bush. So, it kind of comes back to this whole healthcare, which is, don't support Trump care because you're a Trump voter. Don't support Obamacare because you're an Obama voter. I support universal health care because that's what everybody asks for, and that's what will help our nation. I won't use it, but my neighbors can, right? There are very sick people who would die if there were certain medications they had access to. And while I have my strong critiques of, the chemical drugs and what the pharmaceutical industry does, they do save lives. It may be a small percentage of the time, but they do save lives. They went too far, and I'm not concerned about what universal health care would do to collapse their industry. It's not my problem. I think if you run your business on ethics and moral and honesty, and you don't try to gouge people to save their lives or their children's lives. Y'all need to watch this movie, and I forgot the name of one of y'all could help me, but it was a Denzel Washington movie, and his son needed a transplant, and his son was going to die, and so he went in the hospital, and he held everybody up. I don't remember the name of the movie, and he took people hostage in the hospital so his son could get this transplant, so his son wouldn't die. When you put people in survival, because John Q, that's what it is. Thank you, Sister Jania. John Q, y'all got to watch this movie. Like, I get the person I voted for doesn't like this, so I'm not going to like it. That's identity politics, right? Like, try to view things from another perspective, from another side. But watch that movie. This is one of these movies that almost had me in tears. Like, it was deep. It was deep. And being a father, being a parent, I know that you're going to be able to relate to it. And that if you can't afford to save your child's life and your child dies or is going to die, I'm going to tell you, you will be capable of everything. Everything. When you put people in survival mode, they become capable of everything. You know why? Because all that cranial stuff shuts off. All that cranial stuff shuts off. And I'm going to tell you, y'all think I'm a hippie and I'm a love guy. And that's who I am. Listen, I hug people all day long. However, my kids are my babies, boy. Those are my boys, man. Those dudes, man. And they are the reason why I love all kids. But if you ever come between my kids and I, yeah, man. Yeah, I laugh. I laugh because I get these visions in my head. I understand John Q, and you don't ever want to hurt anybody. You don't ever want to hurt anybody. But you put people in bad situations, and they're capable of anything. And a good example, what we were talking about on the thread the other day, was a good brother of mine, good solid brother. Oh man, love him to death. He from college, and he posted. We were kind of talking about the poor whites, right? And I hate that word, man. That's just ridiculous. Poor European folks in our country. And he said, well, they're not going to change unless something bad happens, and they voted for Trump. And I get where he's coming from, and he's right. But it's the poor blacks too, the poor Africans too, and the poor Hispanics too, and the poor Asians too, and everybody in these impoverished communities who are in survival mode. They got bad things happening. They may have sick children. They don't have enough food. They're capable of everything. Everything. And that's why the 13th Amendment is there, right? So that they can walk these people into slavery when they do these survival type things. And they couldn't capture enough of them, so they wrote a whole bunch of laws like the war on drugs and all this, stop them from growing and gardening and whatever they do, make their survival illegal. And that's how they walk them into slavery. And so you have to understand that these people are in some bad spots. And if you aren't in a bad spot, like, we are given our privilege to help people, right? People, yes, Sister Sony, people have to have access to food, medicine, a place to live, and some water. If they don't have access to the basic necessities in life, anyone who offers them that can get pretty much anything they want, which is what takes us back to the Farmers Alliance that I like to refer back to, because there is no other little narrative they got going that they do different. They do the same damn thing all the time. They turn the poor people on this side against the poor people on that side, get everybody fighting, and they siphon the wealth out of the country into their bank accounts. And that's all they do every single damn time. Although I will say, and I don't want to get into that. I'm going to refer back to that just before I wrap up. But they use that narrative every time. So, but in terms of healthcare, the people ask for universal, and they say, well, where's it going to come from? And then, the debate from my Republican friends and Trump friends on the other side, they say, well, who's going to pay for it? It's not even a question of pay, y'all. I mean, look at the bombs. If we have money to build bombs and drones to bomb the hell out of children in other countries and steal their oil and kill their parents for it and build pipelines, there's no question they have money to save Americans' lives. It's not even, so let's kind of break that up right then and there. We have the money to kill, but you're going to debate that the money isn't there to heal or help or save. Of course it's there, y'all, and it's there. Let's step away from the identity side of this from a party perspective. Your leaders are ignorant on both sides, but on that side, the money's there. The money has always been there. Everything in this country tends to be a game of denial, because you can keep people fighting if you deny them something that they need. And that's how you keep them off balance. It's like a martial arts. Oh, Brother Sean, he's, oh man. It's like a martial arts. It reminds me of, I used to work in a data center with Brother Sean. That dude, man, that's a funny cat. He was a bouncer at a bar, and he used to, I think it was called Kempo. And the whole Kempo, or I think it was called Kempo. And the whole idea of the martial art is to keep your opponent off balance, right? So you would, if they're falling to the left, you push them to the right. If they're going to the right, hit them to the left. Their arm goes up, you kind of put it down, but you use their weight and their body against them. And of course, Brother Sean, every time I walked into work, he got something he wanted. I want to show you something, Ken. Let me show you something. Everybody got a friend like that. Let me say, put your hand here, act like you're about to choke me and whatever. And the next thing you know, I'm like laying on the floor in the closet up under some mainframes or something, and glasses everywhere. But that's a whole thing. Oh yeah, Brother Sean. Anyway, good guy, solid heart. But But these denial games, they keep you off balance. And that's how they win. They win by keeping us off balance. And if people are off balance, you can get them to do anything that you want them to do. So that's my take on healthcare. The only thing that I'd ask also there is, I mean, universal healthcare, it's a great thing. I'm not worried about the doctors. If you're a doctor, I'm sorry. I love you to death. But your industry went towards chemistry, and we now know that chemistry is the smoking gun with epigenetics behind all the chronic illnesses that are going right now, why people are dying. So your industry went the wrong way. I'm sorry. You went into the wrong career, seek something else, and I think they'll still do okay with it. But the bottom line is this: if the majority of Americans want it, the government has to do it. So I don't care what party it came from. I care about if the majority want it and people need it, then you got to give it to them. But I'm not going to touch it because I don't trust the government and I don't want them anywhere in my body. And they already are probably, but that's another story. The other thing I ask you to think about is that it not be run as a government program. Y'all need to push your politicians to have some sort of a civilian board made up of various disciplines, from microbiological, holistic, chiropractor, across the disciplines, just not chemistry and medical doctors, right? Like, you got to have everyone in a debate to determine what is good care, what is healthy care. You need to have a big prevention board, right? Because all of it, and this is where the Republican side, they're right. It's going to collapse if it's not designed to solve itself, right? Like, if people are focused on prevention, then a lot less people would be sick, which would mean there's a lot less need for it. So done right, this implementation of universal health care will reduce healthcare costs, which is what's got to happen and which you would want to happen anyway, right? You want to save people's lives and teach them how to eat, teach them how to exercise. And I think we were going that way, like one of the brothers talks about who worked in terms of insurance, in giving people credits and more benefit with their health care if they were living healthy, if they were eating healthier, things like that. So that's my take on healthcare. I don't want to talk about single payer. I don't want to talk about for-profit systems. I don't care nothing about that. If you prove that you're corrupt, your industry probably shouldn't exist. Sorry, you failed. And we need it for people who are in need. So think about that. So in terms of normalizing, we were talking about normalizing. So dangerous thing. When it comes down to what they normalize, I got into a good discussion the other day. We were talking about when you see someone poor on the street, you see someone who's homeless, and if they fit a certain description of who's supposed to be poor because it's been normalized, and you see it on TV, you see it every day when you walk to work, or you might even see that exact person every day as you walk to work. After, initially it's like, wow, that person's doing bad. Good morning, Brother Sean. That person's doing bad, and the next day you walk past and that person, says, why you kind of, the third day, that, you're kind of in my way, man. I got to step over you. And fourth day, you kind of smell a little bit. Why are you in the street, But then you see someone who doesn't fit that normalized narrative of who's supposed to be poor or who's in that area, say they're of a different ethnicity. It shocks you again initially, like, oh, whoa, what are you doing down there, man? Wow, you're not doing so good. Here's some money or something. And that's not racism. That's just how your brain works. So again, that's that perceptionism. And we got to find a way to have bigger hearts. We got to find a way to think more about our neighbors than ourselves, right? And I think that's where we are while we're in such trouble, is you have a lot of people who are thinking about themselves, or they're thinking about their group. These are not things handed down by our ancestors. None of our ancestors handed down selfishness and arrogance. If they did, the tribes that did, they all went extinct. So process a few of those things. As usual. Oh, let me tell you something funny. Let me tell you something interesting. We were talking about healthcare. science is something. I got a really sexy conspiracy theory I'm gonna throw out there. So, I guess a couple years back, I was trying to help somebody with some health problems, and we were looking into. Well, I was looking into research. You know, PubMed is a great site for research, but they took mice, and they took an old mouse, and they hooked it up and did a blood transfusion with a young mouse. And the old mouse, it had gray hair, was sterile, and it was blind, crippled, and crazy. And once they hooked up the transfer, the young mouse, for whatever reasons, you can call them stem cells, or it could be some sort of epigenetic translation or DNA, whatever. But the old mouse started getting young. The old mouse grew brown hair. The old mouse became fertile. The old mouse became young again. And it's the craziest thing on the planet. Like, to me, that's like big time. Because what that does for my sexy conspiracy theory part up in here, I love sexy conspiracy theories, is you look at vampires. And we think, man, vampires, that's crazy. Somebody made that up. They're crazy, whatever. But now we have medical science that proves that when you take in blood from a younger creature of the same species, that it actually repairs your DNA, that your gray hairs go away, your wrinkles go. That it actually proves that this blood thing that people go back to, and even some of the religions talk about the life blood and everything, that if you get whatever's in that stuff from a younger creature, that you will become young again. And that's a fact, right? The mouse is a mammal. That's a fact. It's a crazy fact, but it's a fact. And so, yeah, I know, Michelle, that's where I was kind of going with that, which was, people talk about how many kids are abducted each year. I think someone said there was between 800,000 and 1 million kids in America abducted each year. And I'm not sure about the numbers and the conspiracy part of it, but they say most of them are from the Washington, D.C. area, which is, I don't know if that's true. I grew up there, so I do remember brothers going missing and stuff, but that's deep. Like, that's some scary, crazy stuff that we have medical science that proves if you take an old person, hook them up to a young person, you can siphon that blood and you can make them young again. And start to think about what politicians have been living forever. What politicians that just can't seem to die. But I'm not going to go down too far down that conspiracy theory road. I find it to be interesting. And I don't know anything really about Pedigate, but I find it highly interesting that plus every see, because you can't say, you gotta be careful what you say on social media, because people, they'll come back and they'll quote you, man. They'll say, oh, remember when you said this, and they'll post a video you like a fool. So I don't know, but what I do know is, good morning, Trent, every investigation starts with a conspiracy theory. So highly interesting, something to pay attention to. And so in terms of eating your horse, so that's what we got to get down to. A friend of mine posted a video talking about, how she loved vegans and we're all friends and da-da-da-da-da. But she said, but don't come too close to me with that vegan stuff, because you might show up on your high horse, and if I'm hungry enough, she said, I'll eat your horse. And I'm allowed to laugh. I'm a vegetarian. I can laugh. I'm laughing at it. I thought it was funny, but it was deep. And it goes along with the whole putting people in survival mode thing, right? Because people in survival mode are capable of anything. And it was Sister Debbie who was saying this, I think she said it first, which is, we don't need any more heroes. We don't need big leaders in any sort of grassroots movement. What we need a lot of small lieutenants who are saying the truth, the uncomfortable truths, and getting down to the base of it, bringing unity. And the great reason why is because even though I am a vegetarian, boy, if I'm hungry enough, you show up on your horse. there are gonna be some issues. There are gonna be some issues. Everybody who gets promoted, it seems, to high levels in government turns on us. And you have to think about, why is that? Single points of failure. You know, when we used to architect systems in IT, you never wanted to have a single point of failure. You want to make sure that you have multiple points. Like, that's where your sustainability comes from. You have multiple ways. You know, if you have multiple leaders, then they got to bribe a whole lot of leaders to take them down. But, you know, we don't need our leaders. And, you know, me personally, I don't want to be a leader. I don't even want to be here. I want to go eat that. It's a tomato right there, and it's a healthy, that one tomato has got more vitamins, minerals, nutrients, compounds than all of them in the grocery store. One tomato on a plant that you grow in your own garden organically. And so I want to eat that tomato. I want to sit here, you know, but we don't have a choice. So we got to talk about this stuff. So, but you don't want a leader because, let's say the world gone crazy and they promoted me and I became your leader and I became president. I would still wear this shirt, but I'd be president. I would do the exact same damn thing that Obama did. I would do the same damn exact thing that Bush did. I would do the same damn thing that Trump is doing. And once you really get that and understand that, you'll realize that we've had the same president and we always have the same presidents. And it's not because those men are the same. It's not because those men are good or bad guys or whatever. It's because we don't run the office of the president. So it doesn't matter who you make the president. They're all going to turn on you. And none of us know why. I got my own theories, which is fun for me. I love my theories. I think mine came from Dave Chappelle mostly. He said, you know, when the president, you get in the office of the president, you talk to all this trash about all you're going to do this and do that, and blah, 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 blah. You know, we love the people now, kiss the babies and all that stuff. And you get in office and they sit you down and all of a sudden you see that tractor beam. It's not a tractor beam. What's that thing on Star Trek called? When somebody beams in, somebody comes and the alien shows up right there, got this big head and eyes, and he start telling you, well, this is what's going to happen, and this is what the real picture is. You don't get to know nothing. And shoot, I'd be like, whatever Trump says, that's what I'm going to do too. Whatever Obama said, I'm going to do some of that too. I'm going to be out bombing children and doing all this stuff. And so why is that? Yeah, tractor beam. And why is that important? It's important to pay attention. Pay attention that we have the same presidents. And the moderates tend to see this, but the extreme people don't, and they're still playing this game, which is why I don't say anything really negative about a president's name and because all of this is still divisionary tactics to keep people divided up. So they'll vote for whoever they want you to vote for next. I am going to go on record because there's nothing that can change that significant in the next 3 years. I will not, absolutely not, be voting for anybody that runs as a Republican or a Democrat. You will not get my vote at all. Well, okay, if I do vote, the body snatchers took me over and somebody took me. But I will not. Why? Because you're not voting for that person. You're voting for their party. You have to get past looking at the people. The people don't exist. They're there because they appeal to statistics and they know that you'll fall in that trap, right? It's like, in terms of voting, do our votes count? Yeah, they do count. Hell yeah, they count. But do we elect presidents? Hell no, we don't elect. They select presidents. We haven't ever elected a president. Do you think, think about this. Do you think people who make trillions of dollars, would let Americans pick their leader? Do you know that somebody would kill you for $50? Like, do you know that somebody in the wrong city, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and you got a watch or something, somebody would kill you for some $20 shoes? And don't laugh at me, because they say, sure, they don't make no shoes for $20. Hell yeah, they make shoes. I wear shoes for $20, man. I wear shoes that cost $9. I wear flip-flops all the time. But, somebody would kill you for nothing. Which brings up a good point about 9/11, which is another sexy conspiracy theory. But I'm not too much on the conspiracy side on that one. That one sounded damn sure like a business plan because, but was it 2.3 trillion dollars that got lost? Had Rumsfeld, there's a bag with his name on it, and just disappeared. And you think it's a coincidence the very next day an airplane comes out of nowhere and nails the exact spot where the bag's supposed to be hidden, and oh nope, the bag gone, we can't find the bag. It's, it was right there. It's a damn tragedy. But that 2.3 trillion, people will kill a whole lot of people for trillions of dollars. And so if you think you're actually electing a president, you're crazy. Like, I'm sorry, I love you to death. But your brain's not doing what it's supposed to do. You're not paying attention. Presidents are selected. But do our votes count? Yes, our votes count. Why? Because they sit there and they count them. And they have software that counts them. And they determine this many people vote this way, and there are this many ethnicities and this income in this area, and this, everything's broken down by district. Okay, so they like this message, they don't like this. This many are voting Green Party, this many are going independent, so they're trending this way. What are they Green Party saying? And so they're figuring out how to lie to you next. So your votes count. Your votes completely count because they analyze all that data so they can figure out the next lie to put in the next shill that they put in office to trap you into this identity politics thing. So if you think you're voting for Bernie, you're not. I'm sorry, you're not. You're voting for the DNC, and you think you're voting for Trump. Trump is, I don't know. I still think he's an outsider. I think that nobody likes him there. I don't think the Republicans or the Democrats like him. I think he is like a wild something doing his thing. So, but when you cast these votes, you're not voting for the people, because when they get in office, like all this peace that was supposed to come when Obama got elected and all this peace that was supposed to come when Trump got elected, I don't see it. I don't see no peace. So if you see some peace, tell me where they put the peace, because I don't see peace. There's no peace, is nothing, peace nowhere. So anyway, that's my 2 cents for the morning, which is I see people already lining up about who they're going to vote for next, and it's just not exciting because it's the same BS it's always been. Your vote doesn't, and I'm not saying who to vote for because I don't know who to vote for. I don't even know what I'm going to do come up to the next the whole world could be different in 3 years. We could all be in some bunkers and bombs dropping. We have no idea. So I don't know what I would do in 3 years, but I do know it will not be voting for the DNC, and it will not be voting for the GOP. I can promise you that. I might have to abstain. I don't know. But peace and love to all of you guys. Keep talking. And why do I want y'all to keep talking? Because it's what they don't want you to do. They don't want Hillary voters and Trump voters and Green Party, Jill Stein, but they don't want them talking. That's the main thing to focus on. When your enemy tells you what not to do, that's the precise thing that you should be doing, which is why I'm not black. I'm not. I know somebody gonna say that clip and repost it somewhere and lie. Hey, he said he's not black. I'm not. You know why? Because Master said I was black. And my whole life is about just throwing a middle finger to him and everything that he came up with. These races, you've got to delete this mindset. It's a slave and a serf mindset. On the slave side, the masters told them that they were black. And on the whole white side, this was a government railroad tycoon narrative that they put to invent white supremacy through legislation. So to give one, what they considered a piece of trash, a little leg up over another piece of trash, when you evolve enough to realize that these race things, they're the things that they call race, they're just adaptations to whichever direction you migrated. And I'm saying that again, I've said it before, but sometimes you do got to say things a few times for it to stick in. thick heads that don't want to open up and let the truth in. We are just mutts that migrated across this planet and developed genetic adaptations so that one day we wouldn't be dumb enough not to keep everything separate and come up with these Hitler master race ideas. You're a master, because that's what it is. And it's no better than that. You think about Hitler and the master race. Everyone thinks they got this master race, and you're all morons because none of you are any race because it doesn't exist. You're a mixture of a bunch of different people. And so eventually one day in the future, it's not even going to exist. The dumbest person in the argument is somebody that's arguing over something that's impossible to exist. It's something that is inevitable to have to go away. So that's my end of it. And I'm going to, once again, I'm going to encourage you interracial families. Please continue to breed. Please breed us out of our misery, because some people are getting smarter. Some people simply aren't getting any smarter. The healthiest animals on the planet are the mixed ones, because that's how genetically we're supposed to work, and we're supposed to mix up. It makes us stronger. A lot of the chronic illnesses that people have also could be related to the fact that they don't have particular genes from this brother that migrated that way or that sister that migrated that way. So mix it up. You got to mix it up. And plus it gives them one less reason to one less ability to use these things to separate people out, to get them fight over things that mean absolutely nothing. Positively, absolutely nothing. That's my 2 cents for the day. I'm going to let y'all go. Y'all have a good day, and find somebody who's different than you. Start a conversation with them. Find somebody who is almost a century old and ask them what they've seen, what the hell is wrong with this country and what's wrong with this planet. And most times they'll tell you, but you got to listen. You got to listen. We can't turn back the clock on ignorance. I think we probably lost a good 40 years in progress, real progress, not one-sided progress. We lost real progress because of this nonsensical election where both parties pulled the biggest race cards in the history of the human race. And we got to turn things back to being a smarter group of people. Y'all have a good day.